This presentation is brought to you by Smoooth Productions.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. It is your boy Smoooth, and that is not with just two O's, but smooth with three O's, y'all. In case y'all didn't know. Welcome to another edition, as I said before. For those watching for the first time, thank y'all very much. This should be an amazing episode this evening. But for those wondering about Smoooth Conversations, it's all about just getting stories told. We always see what people are doing on TV or on stage or on radio or whatever. They see everything from a different point of view, but they don't realize the journey and the stories that it all starts from way back when this person was little to the middle part where they're grinding, working hard, trying to get there until then seeing the result. And that is what this show is all about. And tonight's show will not disappoint. It's all about uplifting. It's all about inspiring and just having great, smooth conversations. It's not an interview. This is like really just catching up and just talking, just like you're at a barbershop, just maybe having that nice sit down one-on-one with someone that you maybe just wanted to learn a little bit from and talk to. Well, this is that show. And before I continue on, make sure y'all go ahead and go all across social media. Definitely go on YouTube. Subscribe right now on Smoooth Conversations. And once again, that is smooth with three O's. Like, subscribe, share, spread the word about Smoooth Conversations. All of the previous episodes ever since July of last year, where I had the one, the only Guy Torrey as my very first guest, is on the show. So check out the archives and check out all future shows on Smoooth Conversations on YouTube. So once again, like, subscribe, click on that bell. And also, every episode will be just like it is right now on KBDR Beat District Radio. Go to the website, beatdistrictradio.com, or they have an app store, y'all, on Google Play or the App Store. Just put in KBDR Beat District Radio. High definition. It'll be very clear. My voice will sound so smooth, along with the guests that I have on this show. And also, I got to put in this plug that if you would like to be a sponsor of Beat District Radio or maybe Smoooth Conversations, and you want me to, shout you out, maybe play a little promo here or talk about your business or have your logo shown during the show, let me know. Hit me up. Get at me. There's a QR code on the screen. Go ahead and scan it. Everything related to Smoooth Productions and also Beat District Radio is right there at your fingertips. And we also are doing ad play. So if you want your business, whatever you got going on, if you want us to go ahead and hold you down and promote, you can make that happen. We have plenty of packages available for you. If you want a prime time slot, early morning, late night, whatever it is, Beat District Radio got you. We all about servicing the community, servicing the world. And we want to get your product, your business out there. So once again, hit me up or go to, you could email beatdistrict at info@beatdistrictradio.com. Once again, info@beatdistrictradio.com. Let us know if you want to have an ad or a sponsorship, and we got you covered. So enough of all that fun stuff. Let's go ahead and get right to the nitty gritty. The reason why a lot of y'all are here, and by the way, like and share throughout the whole evening, because the more people are tuned in, you can leave comments, and if I approve, it'll be shown on the screen, just like right here from Miss Marnie Ford says, "Let's go, Dr. Bolton." See, stuff like that is what I want to show throughout the whole episode so our guests can see and we can interact and have a great time. So if you have funny stories, a joke, a question you want to ask, this is the opportunity because we're all about interacting. while we're providing positivity on Smooth Conversations. So, with that being said, it's time to bring on the guest here. And this woman here, it's the first time I have seen her, whether it's been in person or like we're doing now virtually, in about 20, maybe 26, 27 years. The first time has been when we had the pre-show. And when I found out that she would be available, I was excited because we have history. She is a product, a very proud, esteemed product of the one, the only, the Vashon High School Wolverines, class of 1996. I ain't trying to put the age out there, y'all. I'm just saying, because you see what I got going on. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But with the gray beard and everything. But yes, this is a woman that I've known since 1996. And if you don't know, you're gonna know by now that this woman is an educator. She is a doctor. She got her PhD. She got her MCD. She got her BED. She got her BAD. She does everything, y'all. She does it. She is an innovator. She makes things happen. And I said it in the promo, but she is a perfect example of, once again, a Vashon High School product where people would think, oh, you went to the V, so you must not be nothing. You may not make it out to be anything. Well, she's one of those ones, like myself, that has changed the narrative and has done amazing things in her life since she has left Vashon High School. She is very soon about to be president of Columbia College in Chicago, Illinois. She has been around the likes of a few actors, and I got something in store for her very soon throughout this show that she'll be like, what? Why'd you get that? We're going to talk about it. But just everything that she's done, it allowed her to see so many different things since she's left Vashon High School. And tonight, we want to talk about her story, her journey, where she came from to where she is now to where she's going down the road, and how she has been so impactful in so many people's lives, whether it's been professors, whether it's been students, whether it's been businesses, corporations, the whole nine. She's been there, she's done it. And tonight on Smoooth Conversations, she is on the show. Without any further ado, it's time to bring in the one, the only Dr. Shantay Bolton. What is going on?
Hello to you and to everyone that is tuning in. Listen, I was once asked if I walk in the room, what would I want my theme song to be? And my favorite song
Uh-oh.
is Brick House, right? But I said, the way you just introduced me, I need you to be my personal MC for everything because you're making me feel good about myself.
Hey, just so you know, I take Zelle, I take Cash App. Let's get this money.
Yes, we putting you on retainer.
Let's go. I love it, man. But like I said, it's been about 27, 28 years since we have seen each other in some type of fashion. It's good to see you. How have you been?
Oh my, it has been. If I recall right, we met in 1996. I graduated and I am dating myself in age in 98 from Vashon. And right, I'd like to talk about myself being a St. Louis girl who just grew up with big dreams and a feisty spirit, just unwilling to give up. So uh, there's been so I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you, because there's been so many wonderful things. And there's also, to be honest with you, I've had some bumps in the road where I've learned some important life lessons, but I think it's all helped me to be a better person in the end. And I give a lot of credit, even with where I am now in my life, to Vashon. That school taught me grit and resilience. And between the teachers, my coaches, who I still love dearly. So shout out to Miss Crowder and Miss Hayes if they're looking and watching, but also to mentors that we had and shared. I give a lot of credit to them because they made me believe, like, Doesn't matter what people say. It matters how you show up every day. And if you're willing to show up, you'll make it happen. So I am just honored to have this opportunity to be on your show and looking forward to the conversations we'll get into. So let's get started.
Let's get started. Once again, it's definitely an honor and a privilege to have you on. I know you have a pretty busy schedule, so for you to be able to make time, I definitely appreciate that. So, as she said earlier, everyone, we met 1996. Woo, it's a long time ago from now. What's that about 29? About 29 years ago, almost.
Listen, that's you getting older. I'm getting finer like wine. Okay. So
okay.
time improves the quality of who I am. It does not diminish it.
Let's go. I feel you.
First off, I'm gonna give a shout out to your wife because she has made a great selection in her life partner choice. So kudos and round of applause.
Love you, wife.
Miss Smooth. Okay.
There we go.
I hope I don't hurt your feelings because I'm going to be radically candid with you. One of the things that I thought was very attractive, especially at that age, is I wanted intellectual stimulation, right? Like where I could have a conversation with someone. I'm sure recall this. In high school, I was known to be the smart girl, the studious one, but I was also very involved in athletics, right? So I always appreciated being able to have a conversation with someone that wasn't always about school or book but to be able to talk to somebody about my dreams and what I wanted to do in life. And you were actually the first person that I ever shared my aspirations of saying, hey, when I graduate from high school and I'm going to get out of Vashon, I'm going to college and I'm going to do amazing things. At the time, I didn't know what those amazing things were going to be, but you were always so supportive. Oh yeah, that's great. It's wonderful. You should keep going, and just super, super encouraging. And I have to tell you this, I know that I believe your mom has transitioned, but when meeting her, she was so cool, so grounded, so encouraging. And she would not hesitate to say a prayer with you. About you, with you, over you, for you, around you. And I love that. I really did feel like I got the best of two worlds. And she became in many ways, if you recall, because she used to take me out. We'll get into this, but Marion Hall, do you remember that? Out in your city? Yeah.
And real quick, my mom is still alive, so she's doing great.
Okay, awesome. I'm sorry about that. Hi, Mom. But I used to enjoy the rides and just the way in which she would talk to us and was feeding life and encouragement at a time when, we went to a high school where sometimes you had to fight for safety to get to school. You had to fight for safety to learn in school and to stay focused. And let's not talk about the transition home in the evening. And that's just, it was a reality, right? You don't know that that's not normal until you leave outside of those environments. And then you realize, okay, well, this was some difficult stuff I went through. At the same time, I think all of that stuff made me a better person in who I am and has helped me to make solid decisions. But also when I've had difficult times, because people all go through, so I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how religious and prayerful you are. Life will life on you. And when you have a good foundation, you can bounce back from that a lot quicker. And I think I learned that at Vashon in many ways. That built on my early childhood, but I definitely refined that skill set at that institution.
So let's talk about what was the reason why you went to Vashon. What? Because I know it's more to the backstory that we'll get to very soon. But what led you to go to Vashon High School?
So in St. Louis Public Schools, where we lived at the time, I was zoned for that, right? So you didn't have a choice. We moved from Berkeley when I was in ninth grade and moved to the city of St. Louis. And so Vashon was a school that was zoned for us. And so I used to commute right on there. And then I just fell in love with it. I was there my second half of my freshman year because my first semester I was at Berkeley High School. But I did not want to leave after that because I found a sense of community. That community came through people like my coaches, like my teachers, like people I became lifelong friends with, such as yourself. Even though we haven't been in touch a lot in the last 26 years, people touch your life in different ways. And I think
Right.
there are seasons, reasons, and moments as you interact with folks, and you never know. Like, look at this, full circle, full
There we
circle.
go. Exactly. And so now let's get to the backstory. I don't want to butcher this up, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But you told me at the time that you were living in a home, correct, with like uh other kids around your age or younger. Is that correct?
So let's talk about that. So I grew up in St. Louis in the city. I moved to different parts. So we probably lived on every side that there is: north side, south side, west side, and even East St. Louis, which is in Illinois, by the way, and not East St. Louis in Missouri. Okay, for those
Right.
who don't have that clear, I've had to, make that clear through the years. But my mom passed away when I was 11, and it just that was a tough time for me. I was orphaned by the time that I was 11 because I didn't have my mother or my father, right? I lived with different family members between my grandmother and aunt and a cousin, and circumstances within my family just resulted in me transitioning to a girls group home. If you recall, because that was around the time that we met, that was devastating for me because I thought, this is a form of rejection, that this means that something's wrong with you if you keep having all of these losses, whether that's by choice or by force. And so Marion Hall was the name of this Catholic group home in U City. And they they asked me what I wanted to do, right? Do you want to go to a school that's closer to here in U City, or do you want to stay at Vashon? But because of the way that I had support wrapped around me at Vashon, I was like, I'm not going to leave because that was stability for me, right? But it was a girls group home, and the age ranges when I was there was as young as 11 years old, 10, 11 years old, all the way up to 21, 22. And they supported me, not just through high school, believe it or not, but the workers were so committed to seeing me be successful that they supported me through college, through undergrad. So if I ever needed a place to go, if I wanted to come back to St. Louis, I never had to worry about where I was going to lay my head or sleep. I'm so grateful to those people. They have no idea. One of which is still in my life, believe it or not. One of which, her name is Denise Merrill. She's a retired teacher in the Jennings School District, but she has, through the years, just been a cheerleader. She was at games. She was at the graduation. And she has been just a very important part of my life in the journey that I've been on.
I love it. I love it. And I know that you were also a volleyball player, correct?
Yes. I played volleyball in high school. I played soccer and basketball, but in college, I played soccer for a couple of years, and then I discovered a job that actually pays you money, and that was a wrap for me with athletics. But for pleasure, I like to do volleyball now. I played a lot of years when I was in New Orleans, and for those who might be in Chicago listening in, if you know of a great volleyball team for the 40 plus seasoned in life, then please do share it with me on social. So tag, like, share, tell me about it so I can join up here.
So when your fellow classmates and other students at school, how much did they know about your story outside of Vashon in regards to you being in an orphan house? And were there any pressures, or did you have to go through any kind of, how people in high school can be? They can talk about it, Joan, on, you know how it is. So talk about just going through
Listen,
that experience. I know it had
let's
probably had to be
talk about
something because it's the V.
it. Yes. So here's the thing, right? I think when I first got to Vashon, not many people knew about my life situation because initially I was very quiet. When I originally got to Vashon, my brother, one of my older brothers was at the school. He wound up dropping out because he said he didn't want to have a sister who was smarter than him at the school with him. But so shout out to you, Jerome, love you. But it, it I think that just experiencing Vashon in the way that our classmates were, they brought the experiences into the school that they knew. The thing that I think protected me from a lot of things is the fact that I was popular because I was smart, because I played sports, because I was involved in just about every single leadership organization that you can think of. And the fact that growing up in St. Louis in different parts, you just learn how to adapt to the environment that you're in, and build a sense of community no matter where you are. And I think I did that there. But Vashon was not easy. Okay. they were on they listen, they will chew you up and spit you out if you did not know how to hold your own.
Right.
I would credit Vashon for something that I now call myself, right? So sometimes people will hear me refer to myself as a constructive disruptor. And and the reason why I talk about that is because I intentionally move through life with a sense of purpose, right? But I do it unapologetically and knowing that I'm particularly good at solving difficult problems, right? And doing it with grace and under pressure. And even when times get tough, what that institution taught me is I need to find my own joy and hold on to it, regardless of what the situation is. And you had to do that, because if you wore your feelings on your shoulder, you would, yeah, with the Jones, yeah, you get your feelings hurt. It'd be bad. It would be bad.
And to add on to what you just saying, it also shows that you don't have to stoop to lower levels to get your point across or to achieve anything. When someone try to go low, you don't have to go, like they say, to hell. No, you can rise above it. And I want to go back on something that you said about the V and the experience, because I've told this story a few times, but with you, I got to bring it up because I came from a very small private Christian school, Gateway Christian, and it housed maybe, well, not housed, but it was about maybe 200 people in the whole school. So imagine going from that small school to going to Vashon. Now, my family went to the V. My mom, my uncles, cousins. So I was going to the V when I was a baby, and then going to basketball games as I was growing up. So I always knew about the V, but I didn't know about the V in regards to the high school part. So I think it was my very first day of school. I was leaving the lunchroom, and I had it was a group of ladies sitting on the steps. So if you can recall the cafeteria, and and do you recall Miss Grant?
Oh yes, who doesn't remember Miss Green? Oh yes, oh, Lord.
Okay,
Yes, biology.
so pretty much as soon as you go down the steps from the cafeteria, it pretty much leads to going to her room. And there was some steps going down to like the third floor, whatever. And on those steps, there was some ladies that were just sitting there chilling. And I accidentally stepped on one of the ladies' notebooks. And she got up and got aggressive. Like, what you doing? And I'm like, I am so sorry. I just walked down the steps. I'm like, oh my God, this might be the longest 4 years of my life. But I'll say it now, like I said before, I never had no other incidents the rest of my 4 years there. Because as you said,
Learned.
but people respected me because I was about my education and playing sports too. So and also being different, like clubs, in regards to school, whatever. So I never had any issues. You know what I'm saying? I had so much mad love, and I was like, oh, this ain't as bad as people thought. Now, granted, for those who didn't know, when you go down Bell Avenue entrance, which was like the main entrance, as soon as you go in, there were metal detectors. And as soon as you go
Yeah.
to the left, if you recall, it was a nursery there.
Oh yes, yes. I had a
So
family member who had a child in the nursery when we
exactly.
were in high
So
school. So yeah.
so talking about being shocked, it's like, you realize you have young girls that's 14, 15, 16 years old that were already having babies, and when I saw that, you know how they say sometimes when you just see things in front of you, it makes you realize, okay, this is what I know I don't need to be doing right now. Just like if you are
Absolutely.
if you are a troublemaker and your mom or dad say, you know what, since you want to act all in trouble, I got a cop friend that I'm gonna use as an example to see how much you like to be in jail, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, so seeing that, I'm proud to say that throughout my 4 years in high school, never had sex because I didn't want to mess up, get excited over a moment, probably over someone that I probably wouldn't be with down the line, because I didn't want to risk what I've been building up to be, which was focusing on being a student athlete. Because you weren't trying to be there to be a student athlete and parent. That wasn't the goal. It was to be
I
it
mean,
was to be a student athlete.
yeah. You know what? Thank you for highlighting that not everyone in high school engages in premature sexual encounters. There's more ways to build partnerships and relationships and great friendships with people. So thank you for highlighting that. One of the things that I found through the years very interesting is as I've traveled and you talk about how you grew up, maybe the high school you went to. When I mention to people that I went through metal detectors, that's less shocking in today's culture, but they would be very surprised. The other piece is when I talk about the nursery, right, that we had. And when you're immersed in an environment, as I said before, everything you see is normal to you because that is the environment you're in. You don't know that something is different, not to even say it's abnormal, but something is different until you're in different environments and then you experience like, oh, well, everyone at high school doesn't have a child care or a daycare center or something in it. But what it's two things. One, it allowed the young ladies there who, for whatever reason, because there are a lot of reasons why some of them had children, right? Not all of it was bad decision making on their part, if we are being real about the realities of what many of them were facing.
Right.
But it allowed them to still have access to their education, because education and access to land are the great equalizers to generational wealth building, right? They make a huge difference. And so that was a good thing with it. The other thing that I think it did for folks like me is it made me not want to have kids for a very long time because I saw how hard they had to work so young in trying to manage going to class, keeping up with those things, the things they had to sacrifice because they could not go and be a parent and at the same time be a student athlete or participating in all the programs, right? That was difficult, but it taught me an important lesson as well. Like, one decision can literally change the course of the rest of your life.
Right.
So I thank goodness that I had exposure to that early on, because it was not uncommon in our communities for you to have teenage pregnancies. And certainly in my family specifically, that was not abnormal, unfortunately, right? But I knew that I wanted something different, regardless of what people probably thought or even said to me, right? You're going to be a teen mom. You'll have a baby by the time you're 16. People say all kind of crazy stuff in those environments. But, I'm better at showing, since I'm from the show me state, than telling people. And I have walked a good walk in life to show them. And I think also watching my mom when I was a kid growing up, being a single parent, it wasn't easy. So some of those things may sound odd, and when we reflect back on them, we have some touching moments. We'll have some we'll laugh at because it was some crazy stuff that happened at the school too that just you have to laugh at it. It was so insane. But I think, again, it all helps us to become better people. And it helped us to learn how to survive no matter what environment we were in. It certainly, and you tell me if you agree with this, it certainly helped you to be better at accepting people and meeting them where they are and not being so quick to judge folks, trying to get to know them and their story before you make judgment about who they are and how they got to where you find them.
That is true. That is definitely true. Once again, just going to a school like that, as they say in certain states, if you make it out of the V, you can make it anywhere. But it definitely would teach you a lot, especially if you come in with an open mindset. You can't just have a closed mindset and say this is how it is. This is going. No, you have to have an open mindset. And going to that school now, originally the goal for me personally was to go to that school and get a basketball scholarship because everyone knows
Oh,
Vashon
cool.
High School
Yeah.
is the school to go to for basketball. So I wanted to be a part of that. It didn't pan out the way I hoped, but I was blessed in so many different areas outside of that. I actually had a scholarship from of all sports. I had a scholarship from Harrisville for soccer.
Oh,
For soccer.
did Mr. Dupree know that? He would have
I'm,
loved that.
I'm sure. Now, do you recall Mr. Northway?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So he was the reason why I started soccer and tennis at the V. I didn't even know we had those sports.
I know that. It's like, even when you meet people from St. Louis and they ask you, because it's so St. Louis to say, what high school did you go to? Right? That is so St. Louis. But when you say, I went to the V or Vashon, some looks on folks' faces are like, wait a minute, how are you in this room with me today, right now? Right. So if there are any of the students that are currently at Vashon now that's watching, we didn't have much. You may not have a lot, but you do have each other. And that becomes your tribe and your village. And I think it is where you can truly learn the power of showing up for yourself, because it'll help you to show up better for others. And I tell people, I'm not ashamed to say I am a graduate, proud alum of Vashon. So, the Alumni Association, if you ever want to honor me with anything, hey, you can find me on social, okay? Because I've done a lot that I'm very proud of. But seriously, I am. It is a part of my story, and so often people want to suppress parts of their story that they think won't be acceptable to others, won't sound good, look good, feel good. What I've had to learn to embrace with everything from being orphaned in childhood to the group home to the ups and downs that I've had, whether that's relationships, career successes and failures, is to embrace all of it. All of it is you become the sum total of every experience that you had. And some are going to be more profound than others, but you have to own all of it. I'm a Midwest native girl from St. Louis, from the West End, right? Cabinet Courts before, I don't even know if people still know what that is anymore. It was a project in St. Louis. And I that is a part of who and what made me who I am. And I'm proud of that. And I don't hide from it. I actually embrace it. And I think others, whatever your journey is, whatever you go through, I don't care if it's childhood trauma, it could be rape, incest, abuse, own all of it, but use it like fuel to a fire. Don't let it suffocate you, but let it be something that propels you like a rocket, right? Let it be the gas to your engine, because it is important as a part of your story. And you said this at the beginning. When you have these shows, sometimes people are just sharing their story, but they're touching folks who don't even know that it's okay, that they identify with that it's okay for them to have their own voice as well.
Right.
That's important. That's important for us to be honest and talk about these things. As I said before, we didn't have much, but we had each other.
There we go. There we go. I love it. And My mom, especially being a freshman, she wasn't real keen on inviting girls to the house or anything. But if you do recall, I think it was a Christmas coming up, and she thought about it, and she said, "You know what? I want to invite Shantay over to the house for Christmas if I don't know the right terminology of the person who I guess you had to talk to at the orphan building to get the approval to join us for Christmas. Do you recall that?"
I do. Her name was Sister Ann.
Okay.
Yeah. She was something else. She was a true nun, but she definitely met all of the girls where they were, and could do what we now know as code switching. This was a white nun doing that back in the 90s so that she can be able to connect with the girls that she was in service to. So yeah, I always had to get permission. I had to get permission to stay out. I had to get the permission to leave. I had to get it became a part of the structure of my life. Heck, we were on a point system. I don't even know if you recall me talking about that, and I would get frustrated. If I get there late from the time I'm supposed to be there, they might deduct the point. If I don't do my chores, they might deduct the point. You learn to adjust. You learn to adjust. With your mom, I want to talk about something with her. One of the things I think that she saw in me before I saw in myself at that age was a future, right? And the possibility of coming out of my circumstances to do something great. And she was always really welcoming. Initially, she was like side eyeing, like, "Who is this girl and what she want to do with my baby?" Right? My one and only baby. She made that crystal clear all the time. But I think as she got to know me and learn more and saw how I moved and operated, and that I was very principled and very focused. Like my academics was priority to me, and then second to that was athletics. Right, so I was immersed in those two things, and it was nice to have somebody to talk to and to hang out with, and because I had gone so far into high school before I had my first boyfriend. You made me cool, and you don't know that. Because people just thought I was, a nerd or just always in books. And so I didn't get invited to all the parties and all the fun stuff. I did after I met you, though. I started getting invited. So you welcomed me into the cool kids club.
Let's go. And what's crazy is that the person that I am now, I was 180 degrees when I started at the V. Like I didn't go to parties, or if I did go, I'd be the one, the shy person on, just on the side and the back. No, I ain't gonna go. I'm cool. But then junior year, not a classmate. I think she made maybe a year. No, maybe she was a classmate, but she invited me to a party right off of Blair Avenue, right there in the hood. And when I say I had one of the best times, I was like, "Oh, this is what I'm missing. Okay, let's go." And then turn around, one of my other classmates, she had a party right near Tower Grove Park. And she invited me to go, and I brought my CDs. Cause back in the day, people had the book of CDs. For those who are Gen X or whatever, Gen Z, CDs, compact disc. No, but you know what I mean. It wasn't no MP3s. It wasn't no whatever we got now streaming. No, it was straight CDs or tapes. So I brought a whole thing of CDs, and no one was playing music. So go to the party, play some music. Some girls was feeling me. They were dancing on me. I'm like, "Oh, okay, this the life,
You discovered a whole new world, didn't you?"
Exactly. I'm like, "Oh, life supposed to be like this, huh?" And then, but that actually started my career in being a professional DJ. That moment right there, when I was back then, I was shy, but then all of a sudden I started to realize, okay, well, this is pretty cool. This is all right. And now I'm at the level of over 20 years of professional DJ services. So if y'all need services, scan the QR code right there. But anyway, uh, but that moment right there, because I was that shy kid. And then going to her store, I took a speech class, I think my freshman year, and I had to do a presentation about people that I love, in regards to like artists and whatever. So I remember I had like Nelly. This is like doing the Hot Boys and No Limit era.
Oh, that was good music.
Yes,
Music. Thank goodness we had more Polaroids and
yeah,
faded
yeah,
on disposable
yeah.
cameras
So
relative to these smartphones now that keep
right,
everything.
yeah. So I had to do a presentation. So I came out on stage at her store. I had a band-aid on like I was Nelly. I had on some headbands.
Oh
I
no.
came out doing a little dance, doing this, whatever. But then I was speaking about other things as well. And like that helped me develop not having stage fright. So like you could put me in front of 20,000, 100,000 people, and I'm still gonna be me, be smooth, because now I know how to work a crowd. You know what I'm saying? Having that experience doing this, doing that. So I'm like, man, I never thought when I was at Vashon that this would happen. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what I love about this show is that the people are able to see, man, didn't know that this person was like this, and look at the growth, or how some would say the glow, and that's why it was so important to have you on the show. Which I want to go back to. You talked about Vashon High School and what you learned from the V. What did you learn and take away from being at the orphan house?
Oh, that's a layered question because there's so many things. Um, I think I found my voice there because
Mm,
in high school I was known, but I was known because I was quote unquote the smart girl, right? I was known because of academics and because of athletics. Um, but I was always curious about everything. I asked a lot of questions then. And guess what? For those who probably are watching that have worked with me in the past, those who are coming to work with me soon at Columbia, I still ask a lot of questions. I'm curious about everything. And at Marion Hall, what they pushed you to do is to advocate for yourself. If
mm,
you didn't agree with something, if you didn't like something, if something wasn't working for you, they made it a safe place to say what your truth was. Now, I grew up in a family where kids had to go to their place. You weren't supposed to be an adult conversation, right? A very traditional way of thinking about children not really having a voice, and definitely couldn't. With my mom, there was no asserting my opinion. Are you crazy? I wouldn't have had teeth or probably lips on my face to this day, right? Like, you didn't do that. That was
right.
the first time I was exposed to what it meant to be assertive, not passive, not aggressive, but firm and assertive. And while I wasn't the loudest voice at the group home, a lot of them, the workers, as I've met them in adulthood, they say things like, "You were always so quiet, and you always did what you were supposed to do." But I was always watching and listening and learning, and I was always observing, and that helped me, I think, to dream bigger and better and more. um and I knew I wanted something different than where I came from, and
Mm,
they made it okay to dream about it, to talk about it, and to ask for what I needed. If I wanted to go on a trip somewhere that the school was sponsoring, if I wanted to participate in a sport, like, okay, tell us what it is that you want to do for yourself. These are things we think you should do, but what is it that you want? And that helped me to find my own voice and to know that I didn't have to be afraid of it, that I could say my truth, but I could also pursue it without it being a problem. And I, prior to coming to Marion Hall, I just hadn't figured out how to do that because I didn't have the examples, or I wasn't in an environment where that was okay, right? Where that was okay. I want to bring up something because you talked about her earlier. You mentioned her, Sister Ann. Uh, she was one of, like, if you will, the director, or she oversaw or managed the group home, and all the workers and things reported up ultimately through her. So when I was when I was graduating high school, you may or may not recall this, it was a big deal because I was getting all these awards and scholarships, and the Alumni Association from Alabama A&M University in St. Louis was like really wrapping around me and trying to convince me to come to that institution. By the way, that's my alma mater, Bulldog for life. Okay, start there, go anywhere. But it was interesting because I, at the time, thought I was going to be a world-renowned chef. Don't ask me why. Okay, I never even took a cooking class at Vashon. I have no idea why I wanted to do that, but I was inspired about how you can create things through food. And so I'm telling Sister Ann, we're sitting down talking about my options after high school, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a chef. I'm going to do great things with that. She listened to me patiently and kindly. And then she said, what are the different schools that want you to come there? So we talked about Lincoln University in Jeff City. We talked about Alabama A&M. There was some other schools. And she said, okay, so let me get this. You have two schools that are willing to give you a full scholarship for you to go and get a degree. And you're telling me that you want to go to school to become a chef. She said, I tell you what, you're going to go get the degree, and then you will cook in your own kitchen one day, and we'll talk about it in 4 years when you graduate. Because this is a syndicated radio show, I can't use exactly the words that she used, but it was the first time I ever heard a nun use profanity, and the last, by the way. But she made it crystal clear that was the one time that she was not trying to hear my voice. Myself. And I am so grateful to her. I am so grateful to her. She was absolutely right. I do enjoy cooking in my own kitchen. I have multiple degrees, and they have helped me to go places I never imagined that I would go.
So basically, you brought out the Sister Mary Clarence in her.
Yeah. Some days we experience moments like that movie, Sister Act. It was like, I still have good friends, though, that I've become friends with through the years from some of the young ladies. Our journeys were different reasons why that brought us to that situation. But what we did have is that shared experience of being there, and what that meant, and just the things they exposed us to. And what I've found through the years is it's nice to have someone that you can talk to about that phase of your life who truly understands when you talk about a point system, and you talk about passes and weekend passes and things of that nature. You brought up earlier the Christmas that your mom welcomed me into you all's home. What many people did not know is that on the holidays, unless one of my coaches came to get me and took me with their families, or one of the teachers from Vashon, I would be at times the only girl still in that group home because I didn't go with my biological family for the holidays.
And I want to say, I feel like my mom knew that or felt that, so that's why she wanted to extend, that invitation. Yeah.
She probably did. And that's why I said I felt like I got the best of two worlds, because I had a bit of that motherly love and support in a way that was helpful and what I needed looking back and didn't know that I needed, right? It's when you're going through something, it is much harder to see it than when you're on the other side of it, and hindsight allows you the clarity of 2020 vision. And then you're like, oh, that is why this made such a difference, or that's why this person sticks in my memory or in my heart, because they helped to shape who I am. And I appreciate that. Later years, there were other, like I said, coaches and teachers and things that took me with them and their families. And as a result of that, to be honest with you, I now have a lot of family members. So when I reference folks like my brothers, some of them are my biological brothers, but a lot of them are family that God has given to me, because I'm a firm believer. You have the family that you have no choice. You're born with them. Okay. This is just genetically, we're all together. But some of us are very privileged and lucky to come across some remarkable people in our journey that love us as we are, for who we are. They support us along the way. And I certainly have a tribe of women that are sisters, men that are brothers, that have been the wind behind me, pushing me through the years. Some are from that girls' home, some are from high school in Vashon, some generally from the city of St. Louis, but also others throughout the different places that I've worked or lived through the years. And I always want to also acknowledge them as a part of my village and my story as well.
So with that being said, as we transition from Vashon to your college years, you said earlier that the experience of being at an orphan house made you want to, really like get into what is going on, the reason, the why. Is that why you chose psychology in college?
No, I chose psychology because I didn't want to take math classes, and not knowing that later in life, God would have me responsible for billions of dollars in budgets at large organizations. So kind of
Yeah,
funny what you think you're going to do versus what you actually do.
that's a
No,
message, that's a message right there, though, because
yeah,
because as you said before, you wanted to be a chef, and we can have all these plans in the world. Ooh, when I turn so and so years old, I want to have a white picket fence and 2 kids and a dog, the whole nine. But then God be like, it's a different pathway for you.
absolutely. And here's the thing, college, I love Alabama A&M University as well. Like, I through and through, I love that institution as much as I love Vashon, because the things that I learned at both of those places were very complementary to each other and built one on the other. The reason why I have a PhD is because my psychology 101 general psych professor, Dr. McIntosh, um, he said to me, and it was probably the third class, and I don't know what I had done, probably because I asked so many questions and I'm always raising my hand things in class. And he said, you ought to go and get your PhD. I didn't even know what that was at the time, right? Like, what is that? And I'm just getting here. I need to get through the undergraduate degree first.
Mhm.
So college, it opened up my world to differences. I had some folks who came from Vashon. Some of our classmates came to A&M as well. So I had a sense of still feeling somewhat connected, but also able to meet other people. Um, it was the first time that I had experienced what middle and upper class Black folk look like, especially people coming out of Atlanta. I was like, what? Wait, how many generations of people in your family been to college? Because
Yeah.
I was a first year college student. And I think by the time I got to college, I started connecting dots between many of the things I was interested in helping people, right? Wanting to be in service to people. I found that in psychology, but it also gave me something I was not expecting to have. And that is learning how to be a better leader and what leadership requires, and also understanding how systems affect people, whether they're intentionally designed systems or they're organic systems, but how do people show up in that, and how do you make sense of all of that? So I think that's what really pushed me toward psychology, other than my honest truth of it was the one major I only had to take a one math class, and so I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. But I think one of the beautiful things about higher education is that you have an opportunity to explore different perspectives through the people that you're surrounded with. And
Mhm.
at the time, we kind of went to school with kids who were from very similar, for the most part, similar neighborhoods as
Right.
us, right? Um, that means they had similar experience. So oftentimes their worldview is not that far of a departure, probably, from ours. When you go to college and there are people literally from countries you can't spell or pronounce, and their cultures, their traditions, their religion, all of these things are just different from yours, it opens up the way in which you think about yourself and the world as a whole. And so I think when students go to colleges or universities, whether that's technical, trade schools, they have an opportunity to really learn more about themselves, but they also have an opportunity to focus in on what their talents are and how they can contribute those talents in the world, right? So that when I really just reflect on the meaning of college for me, it was, that's what it did. It literally opened up my world. And whether you go to college or not, and I'm a huge supporter of going to college. And by the way, for those who are interested in creative careers, they start here at Columbia College Chicago. So please check us out. That is that is my public service announcement for the night. Right. But regardless of whether you go straight after high school, you go into the workforce and then go later, the detours of that journey, I think, are equally important because they help to shape you, right? I can't say, as much as it may look to an outside party who look at the success now and they go, oh, she's done all these amazing things, and they're very complimentary. I don't want you to envy the outcomes if you're not willing to appreciate the journey, the struggles, and the sacrifices. I did not walk a straight line to get to where I am.
Right.
But I think that every twist, every turn, every aha, unexpected moment gave me as a person more depth in my character. It made me more compassionate and less judgmental about others. And it definitely made me more strategic. I joke and say this, but it's a truth. I may not be able to physically outwork someone, but I will sit and use this brain and I will out strategize you every time. Try me if you want to. If I can survive Vashon, and
right.
I can survive anything in this world that comes at me.
That's what's up. And in regards to my experience, because like as I said before, I went to Hurstow, and there's no shade at Hurstow at all. Amazing university. But I do wish, and this is all on me, I do wish that I would have ventured outside of St. Louis and explored a different college. Because if I'm correct, Alabama A&M, I'm not saying I was going to go there at all, but that's a HBCU. Is that correct?
Yes, all day, every day, in every single way.
There it is. So I wish I would have had that experience to just enjoy something outside of what I, like you said before about Vashon, being so used to the same people pretty much. I know that going out of town to a different college, to a university as big as Alabama A&M or Tennessee State or other institutions would have been amazing. So was that a culture shock leaving the V and to Alabama A&M?
Not at all. The culture shock was, I couldn't understand the people in Alabama when I first moved there because of their accent. That was the culture shock. And then they would tell me that they couldn't understand me because I wasn't speaking proper English. R's with her and there and where. Okay, that was the culture shock. The other piece, this is kind of humorous, but it's a truth. So I did not learn to drive until I was in college. I have a funny story to tell in terms of how I learned how to drive. And if any of my former classmates in undergrad are listening, I apologize now for all the damage I probably did to your bumpers in learning how to drive. While they were clubbing and partying, I would be using their vehicles in the parking lot to learn how to drive, because in Alabama at the time, they did not have a mature transportation system. In St. Louis, if you recall, I would catch the Metrolink and the bus from U City to Vashon, going to school and going home just about every day, right?
Right.
And it was always nice if I could get a ride for somebody who happened to be going out that way that would take me back to Marion Hall. But it was so common that you use public transportation, you didn't really think anything of it. Now I get to Alabama and these people telling me, you ask where the grocery store is, or the Family Dollar or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's right up the road. Now I'm walking, it's about 45 minutes and I'm still walking. I'm like, how far up the road is it?
Right.
There's no bus coming. There's no, the buses run every 3 hours. I mean, it was just crazy. It was cultural differences like that was the culture shock for me. But in terms of the people, our high school prepared, I think, students well to thrive at a HBCU, because I found it actually easier to navigate A&M than I did Vashon. It's kind of interesting. And at a HBCU, even though there are certainly different people from different backgrounds, all Black people are not the same. All people of color are not the same. But what it did is it still had a level of familiarity, and you definitely knew that the professors there were wanting you to be successful. They wanted you to thrive. They really were invested in that and took a lot of pride in seeing you be successful. And the more they understood about where you came from, the more they invested in seeing you complete your time there. If that's what you wanted, right? If that's what you wanted. Now, they're not going to do the work for you. You're going to have to do the work. But they will be there to give you resources, cheer you on. I had professors to come to soccer games for me, right? So we would have this thing. If I score an A on the test, people used to hate it because I used to mess up the curve for those. They grade on the curve. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So but they, if I aced their test and it didn't have to be a part of the curve, what I would ask them in return is that you got to come to one of my games. And they would actually do that. So then it was motivating to me, because it's like I'm wanting to do better, and then I'm still getting the support from them. So I think it was a wonderful experience, but I think that Vashon laid the foundation. Alabama A&M built on that, right? They watered it.
And I like that. That's that strategic brain of yours, with some self motivation. Like you said, if you get a good grade, they go to a game. So now it motivates you, which is very important, especially in this day of age where you probably have seen it, even outside of college, from high school students trying to be motivated to keep going. Because we know times are hard nowadays, and especially due to social media, what's going on in the world nowadays. So just talk about it from your perspective, keeping the future motivated.
Yeah, I think progress doesn't have to wait on perfect conditions for it to happen. And so often we are looking for things to be perfect and ideal. I'm not exempt from this, because I will tell folks I am the hardest on myself, more hard on myself than anyone else can be, for sure. Right. And I think my life partner has really been intentional about pushing me through the years to say, stop doing that. Right. Like you got this. But we can't wait on perfect conditions. If I waited on perfect conditions, I would have never made it out of high school. If I waited on perfect conditions, I would have given up when I was in college. And there were times where I didn't even know where I was going to be able to get a meal from, because the calf closed and I didn't have money in my pocket, or I was in between care packages, these boxes that parents or different people used to send to me with just food items in it, right? And other care things. I really do think you have to try to find what your purpose is in life, and you have to pursue it relentlessly and unapologetically. People along the way are going to tell you what's not possible. Along the way, they're going to tell you what you can't do, what you shouldn't do. And oftentimes I don't think that it's necessarily because they truly don't believe you can. I think that tends to come from people's own limitations of themselves, right? They want to put the limitations they have onto someone else because it makes them feel better to have company in that space. But you cannot stay there, and you cannot allow folks to put you in a box. You know,
Mm.
I said earlier that I'm an intentional constructive disruptor. I do it intentionally. So when I come into organizations and people are asking, does she know what she's doing? Does she realize she's making these people upset or she's making these people uncomfortable? Absolutely, I do. Because nothing great has ever been achieved when we were in complacency or comfort. In order for us to grow, we have to have a level of resistance and change, right? Think about it. Do you
Yeah.
ever like work out or exercise?
Yep.
Right. Have you ever been able to build muscle by going to the gym and just sitting in there and looking at the equipment? You just observing it. It looks good. It's all functioning and working, but you never use it. Your muscles are not going to build through observation. Your muscles build and your memory improves in that when you have the resistance of engaging. You got to
Mm.
do you got to do the work. Like I didn't get here because someone handed me anything free or easy. I have worked my hind off to get to where I am, and I have no regrets, right? I've had some, as I said, high highs, I've had some low lows, but it all has come together, I think, in a beautiful way that I'm still pinching myself that I'm a prayerful person. I believe in God. That the guide of my understanding has allowed me to work hard enough, long enough, intentionally enough to be the next president and CEO of Columbia College Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important to me? Why do I wake up every day thinking about this institution, how to turn the headwinds into momentum? Why do I do that? Because I see myself in these students. Oftentimes, they're first generation students. They come from tough, sometimes tough neighborhoods, difficult or challenging family situations, but they come to us wanting to do something creative, do something bold, do something different for themselves and for the people around them. And I think my job is going to be to ensure this institution has the foundation to give access and to make sure that the community of Chicago, the city of Chicago, but also across this nation and the world, that they see the brilliance of these students that I get to serve. You know, in leadership, I wonder if you think this too. In leadership, it's not about what people are doing for you. What are you doing in service to others? And I think that helps all of us to get to where we want to be.
So you brought up something that actually touched me and had me think about something. You said how, wait, tell me again, intentional, constructive.
Yeah, I think you have to be intentional with the way in which you navigate your way forward. And I'm a constructive disruptor.
There we
I
go. There we go. Constructive disruptor. That's it right there. So you know what? I'm gonna make me a shirt and have
unless you're
constructive.
gonna give me some royalties, because you know we brand things and we believe in intellectual property
Yeah,
over here at
yeah,
this
we
campus.
do.
As you
I
said
feel
before, I accept Venmo, PayPal, Cash App,
yeah,
Zelle.
all that. Send me a check, the whole nine. But uh, I was prevented from a promotion at my job years back
Mhm.
because I was told that I was too passionate about my job because I wasn't always saying yes, this, yes, this. I was the one that was challenging to be like, well, why should we do this if we haven't first found out if it's gonna be helpful for us? You know what I'm saying? I was the one that stood up. I wasn't like the yes person. I was the one that would be like in that room or want to be in that room and figure out, well, is this the right way to go? Well, how about this option? How about that option? And when you perfectly said it earlier about shaking things up. And it wasn't to be Negative would be like, oh, here goes Fred, he gonna be a problem. No, I was trying to do what was best, not just for myself, but make the whole user experience, especially as an employee and for my peers, to make things better. And I was told for a certain position that I want to get to. Well, I felt like you would be always argumentative to so and so just because I had my own opinion. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully, you know,
Mhm.
and that always touched me. And it hurt when I was told that. Like, I can't move up because you're worried about me being disruptive. And that really stuck to me. It still do, especially because you brought it up. But that really, like, man, what? So you just want people just to say, okay, let's do it, fine. And then down the line, you see, oh, it's about to crash. You need people in the room that's gonna challenge each other
You
because
do.
that's gonna make you better. You
And
know what
I
I'm
just
saying?
talked about that, right? You
Right,
Muscle does not build without resistance. We don't
right,
get to the best of who we are, and we don't get to the best ideas if it's only one smart person in the room, right? Like you have to surround yourself with people who are going to be respectful, but also truth tellers, right? And push for the betterment of who you all are in service to. So listen, I have had my unfair share of those kind of people in my life.
mm,
But let me tell you something. And for anyone out there listening to us tonight, I've been the only woman in the room. I've been the only Black. I've been the youngest. I've been the one that was the only one that was born without a silver spoon. I've been the one that was the most educated, the least educated, right? All those things. But it doesn't matter when you walk into a room, you need to trust the voice and the experience that you bring with you. What I've learned is that someone else's incompetence or commitment to a misunderstanding is not my burden to bear. But I do see it as a bridge, right? As a bridge that you can be intentional about asking the right questions, about pushing people to think beyond their myopic views of things. One of the hardest lessons for me, as I said before, was learning to let go of the need to be perfect,
mm.
right? I don't want to speak up because I don't want to have the wrong answer, right? In high school, if you had the wrong answer, they would talk about you so bad you wouldn't even want to look at yourself in the mirror, okay? So you almost learn if you're not perfect and spot on, don't even ask a question. It wasn't what our professors, our instructors, the teachers encourage you to do. Like, they wanted you to ask questions, but the social environment was not conducive to that, right? I think we have to commit to progress over perfection. That's what we're going to see real change. Uh, so often we mistake movement with progress. I can run in place and go nowhere, or I can run a 5K at a starting point and a different ending point. That is two different things, two completely different things.
Right, right. That's facts. So I'm very big on highlighting the journey and then seeing the reward. And I see, as you brought up earlier, the bachelor degree, master's degree, PhD, being an administrator, being a professor. Talk about that feeling of reward when you realize that you're about to get this degree, this diploma, this achievement in your life, and how important it is for others, whether it's students, whether it's someone who's a father, a mother, older in age, being able to have that feeling of achievement because of the hard work that they put in.
Yeah. I'm very humbled. One of the things I've learned to appreciate is being described as having humility. I used to believe that when people said that about someone, they meant that like they're weak or just lacking strength in some way. And I've come to appreciate that for all the successes that I've had, all the things that the God of my understanding has allowed me to achieve, it is just that I've been allowed to do that for the purpose of being able to use those things to give back and lift others up. So I'm I think I would probably, most people who know me well would say she's very humble about it. It took me a long time to use the salutation, doctor. It was something I had. I didn't want people to think that was who I am as a person, right? When you ask me what my name is, my mother named me Shantay. She didn't name me Dr. Anybody because she didn't know at that time that that would come along as a part of my journey. And I always, in all the places that I've worked, it's always been important to me to take note of people regardless of what their job title is or their set of responsibilities. So I've had some of the closest relationships with the janitorial staff, groundskeepers, and I always want to be connected with anyone in society who is considered the least among us. Why? Because I used to be considered that, right? And people not knowing your story, they just see where you are now and they judge you for where you are now. But I've never forgotten where I've come from. And I think in terms of my journey with my education, so I have a bachelor's, I have a master's, both in psychology. I have a MBA in corporate business because I was an entrepreneur at one point in my career. And I also have a PhD. Some don't know this. There's only one educational pursuit that I never completed because a job, again, it was a phenomenal opportunity that got in caused a detour in my life. And I did a semester of law school because I'm very curious, just intellectually curious about things. I want to understand and I want to have as much knowledge as I can to help people around me. I've had so many certifications, you probably could make the alphabet behind my name with all the letters and credentials, but none of that is who I am. It's a part of it, but it doesn't define who I am. And I think no matter what you accomplish through life, you have to be very careful to not allow those things you acquire to become who you are. They're a part of your story. They're a part of your journey. They help you in the things that you want to do in your passions, but you can't get so wrapped up in all of those things that you stop being human and stop caring about people and stop being available emotionally to others around you. You talked about the constructive disruptor, right? I go back to that a lot. And as I think about my journey, whether it was academic or professionally, and even personally, I've had roles where I've had to clean up things that I didn't break. I didn't have anything to do with it. And I walk in and it's like, here's your cape, go figure it out. But I still think, regardless of whether you created the situation or not, you still have to lead with integrity. That my experiences, my accomplishments have taught me how to lead from the back, from the middle, and from the front. They all serve a purpose depending on what the need is at that time. And you have to do that without losing yourself. You do not want to lose yourself in the pursuit of all these things. I once had someone that I love dearly. When I disagreed with them about something that they felt strongly that I should do, right? And you should do this, and this is why. And when I stood firm on, no, I'm not going to do that, their response to me was, you've gotten all these things and you forgot where you came from.
Mm.
And I said, it is actually because I truly remember where I came from, why it is so important for me to stand 10 toes down on the principles of this no, right? You got to be comfortable and okay with people not agreeing with you. But you can't be everything to everybody, no
Right.
matter what you achieve in life. Like that's just not possible. And I think there's a lot of people, and especially in this day and age with social media, I mean, it feels like some of the pressures of the youth now are pressures we didn't particularly have to deal with in the way that they do, of wanting to be accepted. And their definition of success is the number of likes to a
Right.
single social posting, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, you are so much more than that. You have so much more to offer this world than that. But even as you're acquiring these things, don't get lost in it. Because at the end of the day, I still remember where I came from, and I remember and remind myself every day how I got here, because I never want to get to a place where I'm so high up that I can't see the ground. Right? To me, that is anchoring. It helps to keep me anchored.
Man, better man. Amazing, amazing words right there. You are right now watching Smoooth Conversations on YouTube, maybe on Instagram, maybe on Facebook, because it's spread all around social media right now. Or you could be listening on beatdistrictradio.com or on the app. Hope y'all are enjoying the conversation so far. If you are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, maybe even on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can leave comments and I can see it. If you're on Instagram, they don't have the means yet for your comment to show on the screen. So you have to go to YouTube, like, subscribe, and also go to Facebook. Just put in Smoooth Productions, Smoooth with 3 O's, and or same thing on Twitter or the X, Smoooth Productions, and tune in and leave comments so Dr. Bolton can interact with you and me as well. So I think I see a comment coming through right here. Says that Keisha says, well said. Definitely was well said. So continuing on, I see here that you've been put in position, as you brought up earlier, managing a lot of money.
A lot. It's just not my money, but
right,
other
right,
people's
right,
money.
right. Hey. So she says, y'all. No, but talk about if it was to you, because since you are so strategic, you probably embrace it, which people, like yourself and like me, we want that challenge. But talk about being able to manage. I saw in Georgia Tech, you was doing this. Going back to Washington University, well, not going back to, but coming back to St. Louis, then going to Wash U and handling that. Talk about being able to manage a lot of money and having that weight possibly on you and knowing you can be innovative and doing what you do. Talk about that feeling.
Yeah. So I've had a very interesting career journey. In my early career, I started off in manufacturing operations. And that's where I learned to really hone in on understanding systems in the workplace and how people sort of show up and how they function. After about 5-6 years of that, got the entrepreneur itch, and I didn't want to have to work for anyone. I wanted to be able to set my own schedule. I wanted to do the kind of work that excited me. And so I became an entrepreneur. I started a consulting company. That was a blessing because it actually allowed me to travel abroad. And I had the opportunity to live for a short period of time in the Middle East. And just to work with diverse people from all kinds of backgrounds. At the time, I think a lot of folks thought I was crazy when I told them I was moving overseas, but I'm like, hey, what are the odds that this girl from St. Louis would get the chance to do this? And I have no regrets. Now I have friends that literally live all over the world as a result of that. While in the Middle East, I had an opportunity to respond to an email. And I actually thought it was the wrong email, to be honest with you, because I didn't apply for this job at Tulane University. And I replied back to the recruiter and I'm sort of like, hey, whoever you were sending this to, they probably want to know that they're being invited to a job interview. And she's, verified that I am who I am. And I'm like, yes, but I never applied for a job here. So how are you inviting me to an interview? And she said, well, you came highly recommended, but the person wants to remain anonymous, right? I'm sharing this story because it's important that you show up consistently in who you are, because there's always someone watching, right? That opened up the door 10 years ago to me being able to move on the trajectory that I'm on now in higher education, right? And I met remarkable people there. I had remarkable experiences. I walked into an institution that has a great reputation, very well known, but at the time it was a turnaround job with some of the aftermath of Katrina and what happened to the institution financially and operationally. And then I experienced COVID while I was there. So that was a whole nother thing that no one really knew what we were dealing with. And I was entrusted with a lot of responsibility. And what did I do? I went back to my early roots. You don't know the answer to this, so you figure it out. You're going to figure it out. Every day you're going to get up and you're going to solve for the things you can solve for. And you're going to leave the things you can't solve for tomorrow. And that's what I did. And it really helped us to get through the COVID period. They called me the COVID czar. I'm okay with that name now. I didn't like it at the time. It's a name that's intended to be complimentary for the level of work
right.
and support that I did. That's when WashU reached out and was like, hey, would you be interested in coming back to St. Louis? Now, what's funny is when I was in high school, because I was at Vashon, WashU would not have given me two thoughts to look at me, considering me for undergrad. So I thought it was pretty cool to be able to come back and say, yeah, you didn't think I was good enough to be one of your students, but I'm a rock star and the top candidate to work and oversee your operations. So I came back to St. Louis for a little stint, and that was a great experience as well. I then itched to want to know what it was like to work in a public. And Georgia Tech provided the opportunity there. Now, Atlanta is a very attractive place because for me and some people from my community, it's like Wakanda. There's very successful Black people there. And that would have been an exciting opportunity to work there. And that was a multi-billion-dollar budget, a very large team. I had over 1,500 people on my team there that I oversaw. And then the opportunity arose at Columbia College. Now, I've been working 10 years toward building my education, my experience, my knowledge about higher education administration. And I knew I wanted to be at an institution that I could lead through change. Because again, I'm a constructive disruptor. I don't want things perfect. I like them when they're a little messy so that we have an opportunity to come together and create something new. And so, I will be transitioning into the president role at Columbia in July, and we will see where the next few years of this journey takes us. And I'm super excited about that. Super excited. Awesome. So yeah, I've worked in different industries. Nobody's path is going to be exactly linear, right? Most paths are not 1, 2, 3 in steps. You take some detours and some turns, but what I've tried to be true to is what is the purpose of what I'm doing. And for me, every role that I've been in, I am in service to people. And I think that is my life calling of what I'm supposed to be here to do, to lift people up, to help them to realize their dreams and passions, and to facilitate that.
It's ironic because my wife told me a few days ago that I think it's like a cousin of ours or someone who's close to her is going to Columbia College in Chicago.
Yay!
So I had to find out after the show from the wifey, and we'll talk about that after the show. But I thought that was pretty ironic. I said, wait a minute, about the one in Chicago? I said, I'm supposed to have someone on the show coming up. So I thought that was pretty cool when I found that out. I'm like, okay, that's what's up.
Well, they will be very welcomed at our institution, and everyone should know that Columbia is a place where creativity is going to be your currency. So I'm super excited. This is a unique group of students that I really describe as our storytellers. There are designers, there are innovators, there are culture shapers of today and tomorrow. I've learned more about podcasts, short films, music, and how you even develop beats and the equipment that you use, fashion design, and I'm not even on board yet fully, right? This is just doing the transition. I've been so inspired by these students. And so this young scholar will find themselves in a very welcoming environment, in one in which they will be able to find their creative expression, and they will leave this institution in 4 years with a portfolio of work that they actually did, and with a network in their professional industry that they can go and have very successful careers. I was with 2 alums recently who were honorary doctorate recipients. And I said to them, gone are the days of the starving artists. We don't starve over here. We thrive. Okay. So we are thriving. We do not produce students who are going to be starving artists. And so I'm just super excited to support them. I can't wait to find out who they are so I can reach out personally and say, welcome. And I will make sure that they have all the support that they need to make the transition to Chicago and to Columbia in the fall.
That's amazing. Talk about this, because there's been this whole, bedrock ooga booga, man must make more money, man must do everything, woman in the kitchen, stuff like that mentality. Talk about, and especially because of what you do, talk about how the economy has changed, in which now the world is not making it, but it's the same. Like nowadays, women are in positions now to make more money because of what they're doing, because of the opportunities that's being put out there, where you can't say, and this no shade to men, or no like, oh, men
You're
down.
gonna get in trouble.
I'm just saying, because you hear people on social media or whatever try to stir stuff up, but we're getting to a point of age where men have to just swallow their pride and allow women to flourish and do what they do. And it shouldn't be a male ego thing. Oh, well, my woman makes more money than me, so I ain't a man. But it's just the way that life is. So just talk about that from your perspective, because it seems like there is a huge shift where women are, being put in positions to make more money now.
I told you I'm a strategist by my soul, and part disruptor, part diplomatic. You'll hear that in my response. So here's the Shantay response to that, because I have been in this situation. I've walked this road, okay? That in relationships, it's not about who makes what in the resources. It's about how you all come together to create the lifestyle that you want going forward. However, being that Black women in this current day are the most educated, they have the most degrees, Black women, right? We have made in the last 20 years greater inroads into leadership positions, and have come to advocate more confidently around our salaries. Even though we still are lagging statistically, we are in a better place oftentimes within our relationship dynamics. It's hard out here, right, for women who are highly educated, highly successful in their careers, but it's not something to be discouraged by. I think regardless of what your income level is, if you make 50,000 and you as a woman and your partner makes 30,000, technically you're making more than them, right? So it's scale with everything. But I also think you have to have a good understanding and clarity with each other around topics like that, especially before you start doing things like having children together,
Right.
and buying homes and cars, and commingling your life into marriages, which is a contract at its core, right? A contractual relationship. You really want to make sure that you and that person are equally yoked in your understanding of finances and in your aspirations of them. Because sometimes men can, and I'm only familiar with Black men because that's the only men that I've ever dated or been with. So they can sometimes feel uncomfortable because we fight against the social norms that men are supposed to be the providers in all essence. And I'm not saying that men are not providers just because they don't make more than a woman. I'm like, to me, that whole social narrative, something's wrong with it. It's really, it requires deeper conversations in our community. But as a woman, and for any women out there who are highly successful, you making your pennies and counting your bags, don't stop doing that. And I guarantee you, you can go and find partnership. You just may have to look in places that you hadn't before. So I don't think it is. I think it's outdated, to be honest with you.
Very outdated.
Feel like they have to make more, because I'm like this. If we are together, right, in a relationship, it is one household. It's not two different households. Right. So we have to understand what are our commitments and how are we both able to show up. I also have learned an important lesson in life, that you have to have separate pools, some level of separate money of finances, right? If everything goes into this shared bucket, when you start to have conflict, when it's something that you want to do, let's say you like shoes. I have a sinful pleasure for beautiful high heels, okay? Because I believe listen, you can do difficult work, but I'm gonna walk in some beautiful high heels and with grace through the fire, okay? So that's my sinful pleasure. But if you're with someone and they don't, that maybe they don't believe in spending on that, you all are gonna be bumping heads. So it's about having a good understanding. There is nothing that substitute having a good understanding between two people, and especially when it comes to finances. And for women who are in that situation, my dad used to say, one of two things will happen in a relationship. You're going to change, or you will change them, but somebody's changing. So either you really love this person enough that you have to be okay that maybe you, that they believe that, and you have to figure out how you all are going to move forward where you're not making as much money. That's insane to me. But if that's what that is, a person's flavor, then they have to move forward with that. I just really feel like that's an outdated social construct that we've adopted for many years. And with inflation, the cost of living, the cost of school, the cost of diapers and milk. Okay. Eggs were like $20 a few months ago. Okay. It's really hard for you to function on a one income household. And it's even that much harder if someone has the capacity and the opportunity to make more, but you don't want them to make more because of some ego issue. That's a little concerning.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. So this next part of Smooth Conversations, I like to call Smooth Moments, where I highlight some things that I've seen and wanted to show it to our guests. So let's
I'm afraid of what you're about to do, but okay, I'm ready for it.
All right, here we go. So let's talk about this moment right here.
Oh my goodness. Where do you find these pictures? Oh, we called ourselves, and I probably was the skinniest one in this group, the Thick Flick.
Yep, I remember.
Do you remember that? TK. Because Flick for us was not spelled in its proper format with a C, but it was TK. And that is what this group of ladies were very known for. They have all gone on and done remarkable things in their lives too. Oh my goodness. You have done some research and digging.
Oh yeah. So you do stay in contact with any of them?
Yes. So sometimes we through the years have had reunions. So you had like 10-year reunion, 15-year, 20-year, etc. But also they will send messages. Like we'll send messages to each other if something comes up. Congratulations! Great to see you doing these things. when the kids graduate from high school, they go on to college, graduate from there, they get married, different things. And we live in different parts of the country. Some still in St. Louis, but there are some in Tennessee. Of course, I've been other places. So it's still very connected, but it has been a long time since I've seen this picture. And the whole outfit. I remember the coordination of us with the whole outfit. Oh my goodness.
So make sure that you send them the link to this show.
I sure will. They'll probably be messaging you then to say, where did you get this from? Okay.
All right, let's keep it going.
Oh, I believe that this was the honors program when I think the school had a special ceremony for honors right before you got ready for graduation, and we were outside where the gymnasium was in the parking lot next to where the cars were, when we took this picture. This is my senior year in high school. And I was fabulous then, by the way. Look at that. Every color, white, blue, purple, all colors look good.
There you go. So for those representing Columbia College, Chicago, yes, that is Dr. Bolton.
Oh my goodness.
Back in the day. All right.
Smiling, right? I was smiling then.
Yep.
Even when I was going through life, right? Life was lifing and still smiling 20 plus years later.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Do you remember Miss Owsley, Rita Owsley?
I don't.
She was also one of the chaperones when we would go to these leadership conferences.
Yes.
For the folks who are viewing this, in high school during the summer, we had an opportunity to go to a leadership development conference, and it was a camp, okay, on Lake Minnetonka in Shelby, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And you spent a week there, but you learned all kind of things about yourself and about others. And these are pictures from 2 different years of folks from high school, many of which are on those first 2 photos. Because the Thick Click did a lot of stuff together. We played sports together. We did leadership development, participated in all the things at school. But I used to look forward to this. I actually did this for 4 years.
Really?
4 years.
Wow. So yes. I only had the experience one time, and that was my senior year. But these photos mean a lot to me because my experience, because I was part of the leadership compact team and I had the opportunity to go. But that experience made me appreciate nature. Because if you recall, there was a moment every morning called quiet time.
Yeah.
Where you were challenged to make sure that you did not say a word, you don't laugh, you don't sneeze, you don't cough, you don't do nothing, but just hear the water, the birds, and the fish. And that moment, every morning, I appreciated that. And that's what made me appreciate nature. Just go outside and be in my backyard and just hear nature, or go to a park and just chill out. That period of my life, going to Michigan, was like, well, yeah, I don't think we had no electricity for real besides that one building, because
everyone had no electricity and no log cabins, okay, with no windows, and just like tarps. You just roll the tarps down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was real nature. It was a real camp feel, but it made me better and appreciate life. You know what I'm saying? It was just a great time. So when I saw these, I was like, man, that was an amazing moment. And shout out to the late Mr. Dupree. He was the leader. But yes, that was such an amazing experience. And for those who haven't gone camping, or maybe have been invited and haven't gone, try it out. Just try it one time at least, and just see how much nature can be. Uh, I was able to connect with so many different students from different schools, as well. And this one lady, and I had no idea that they had this there, but she found out about this breathtaking view from the campsite. So she said, get up at this time in the morning. So like, let's say if everyone else get up at 8 in the morning, she said, get up at
You were
6.
up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was probably like 5. You had to get up to catch that view.
Right. So I can't recall the exact time, but she was like, meet me here at this time. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but she's like, meet me here. So we go up this trail. It's like going up a mountain. That's how it felt. But as soon as we reached the peak, it was like this most breathtaking view that I have ever seen. And I was like, wow, all this is here. So it was just that whole experience that really made me appreciate just nature. So for those who like, man, what Vashon? Now, I can't speak on what the school offers now, but in regards to the time that we were there,
This was a great program, like
yeah,
absolutely remarkable. And I have some very fond memories from each year of just things that happened and that we did. One of which, and I don't know if you were there this year, the first time that I realized Melissa Rice, that she could sing. And we were having, for those who wanted to worship, they had different options for you. And we went to the service this Sunday morning before we were leaving to return back to St. Louis. And she sang His Eye is on the Sparrow. It was so, oh my gosh. I didn't even know until that moment that she could sing. The other two things that I remember the most from that camp is it's the first time I ever went polar bearing. Did you ever do that when we were there? Where you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning when the water is at its coldest temperature, freezing cold, Lake Michigan, and you jump into Lake Michigan. I did it once. I never did it again, but it definitely wakes you up and you will be alert for the remainder of the day jumping in Lake Michigan at 5 a.m. So if any of you all are curious about that, I recommend experiencing it one time, but you probably won't want to do it again. And then the second thing, you talk about where we stayed. We were truly in nature. They were log cabins. One of the cabin mates, because if you recall, they had bunk beds. So it was probably like 6 of us in a room in one of the cabins, 6 or 8 of us. And this one night, they used to always tell us, do not leave any food out. Don't leave candy bars. Don't leave any food or anything because wild animals will come in. And this one night, I'm zipped up because I'm afraid of insects. So I'm zipped up in this sleeping bag all the way, like literally to my neck. I would have one of the bunk mates to just zip me up because I just was terrified a spider was going to crawl on me or something. So I feel this pressure on my chest. It's the middle of the night. It's pitch black. There are no lights out here. So I try to reach in to get my a flashlight and I pull it out, and I like inch it up because I'm trying to figure out what is this on me. And I'm terrified and I don't want to just scream and startle people if it's just me being anxious. I flash this light and it is a raccoon eating a Snicker bar that one of the other ladies left out. And I screamed, jumped up, hit my head on the bottom of that bunk bed, and I had a knot the size of a baseball for the rest of that week. I am surprised I had any sense leaving the camp that week, but I learned an important lesson. I go on nature walks. I really love bird watching. I enjoy my thoughts in nature and taking in the beauty, but I will not sleep in nature ever again in my life. Okay, learn, right? Listen, learn. It only takes one knot upside my head for me to learn the first time.
Let's continue on. Talking about being a part of this right here.
Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. These are my so finer line sisters. These are my sisters that I came into my sorority with, Psi Alpha Zeta in Madison, Alabama. One of my sisters has gone on to have her wings in heaven. Sora April Brown, but my other three Soras I'm very, very, very much so still close to, and we stay in close contact, very active in my sorority and serve in leadership positions and things. But I found sisterhood that aligned with my values because I'm very committed to service, right? You've heard me talk about being in service to others. And
Right.
Zeta Phi is a service-oriented, community-conscious sisterhood of women who support education and scholarship. So, super smart. I wanted to be with the smart girls, right? and, and being able to serve in things that are important to me. We're big supporters of March of Dimes. My son, Brandon, who is 15. Hi, Brandon. I know you're probably on YouTube watching this right now. So hello, shout out to you. He was a micro preemie. And so March of Dimes is a organization I'm very passionate about. I probably would say it's my largest charity that I give to throughout the year. And Zeta is very active in supporting that as well. So these women have been on a journey with me and will continue to support me as I move into this next phase of my life.
Love it, love it. And I didn't know until now that you're a mother.
I am, but Brandon is the most important gem and blessing that I think the good Lord has ever given me. It is more important than any of these degrees and certificates. That kid, for him to have survived and thriving in the way that he was born 23 weeks, 1 pound, 6 ounces. He was smaller than the size of a Coca-Cola can, right? And
Wow.
people told me when he was born, the doctors and nurses, just take it minute by minute. He probably won't survive. And I said, well, we'll see what God has to say. Then they told me after, a few hours, take it hour by hour. He probably won't survive. The odds are not in his favor. I said, okay, we'll see what God has to say about that. And then it became day by day, moved to week by week, month by month. You get it. Over 25 plus surgeries, several challenges and setback in early childhood. And now I have he has to be about 6'1". I mean, the kid is like taller than me, super handsome, super smart, super kind. And one day wants to be an engineer because he's extremely good at technology. So I share that story with you because earlier you talked about what keeps people motivated. For me, he has been that. He has shown me that when you refuse to give up on yourself, regardless of the odds against you, even when they're stacked against you, you can achieve great things. And so I look at him and I just am so inspired every day by him. And I hope, teenagers can be rough, but I hope that I have done or will do things in life that will make him proud to say that he is my son as much as I am proud to say that myself. So yes, I am a proud mama.
Very well said. And with 4 minutes left to go, it's amazing how life can bring you to a moment like this. Taking a photo with an amazing actor. Talk about this moment right here.
Yeah. So I was so excited. He was a speaker for WashU. So that is me and my regalia at commencement at WashU in St. Louis. And I was like, he's a native of St. Louis. I have to meet him. And there's a very coveted process that they have with, the special honorary degree recipients and speakers. And I just snuck in the room, right? I was like, where he's going to be. I'm going to just sneak in the room. And I said to him, I just simply want to say hello. And can I please grab a selfie because I want people to think I'm cool. Okay. And he just was so tickled by that. I was like, of course, come over here. But just a remarkable person, gave a powerhouse commencement speech. So you all should look that up on YouTube as well. That was very inspiring about his journey from St. Louis to success in the film industry and all the wonderful things that he's done, and just encourage the young people to just pursue their dreams with passion and with intention.
Yes. So the one and the only St. Louis' own Sterling Brown,
Yeah.
amazing actor, and you have an opportunity to share a moment with him. It's awesome. And speaking of awesome, this has been an amazing, smooth conversation. I thank you so much. We have about 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes left. So any special shout out that you want to give?
Well, I think I've tried to lace it throughout the time that we've been on the show together. But to all of those who are tuning in, I thank you for your support, and hopefully something we've talked about today has been helpful to you, most certainly. And also to anyone listening who has ever felt like the odds were stacked too high against you, I want you to just keep going. Every step you take is a part of your becoming, of who you will be. And you don't have to wait until you arrive to perfection to be able to lead. You can lead from wherever you are. Influence starts with how you treat people, how you show up, and most importantly, how you own your own story. I'm personally a proud daughter of St. Louis, proud alum of Vashon High School, of Alabama A&M, and many institutions. And with all of that, I carry grit, and I've tried to match that with grace. And that helps to keep me grounded everywhere that I go. So thank you all for tuning in. Please like, share, make sure you check out Smoooth Conversations in the weekly podcast, and also support them and support creatives and this art form, that they are the storytellers of today and of tomorrow. And so thank you so much for inviting me on to this show, Fred. It means a lot to me, more than I can even put into words. I'm very grateful to have the experience of doing this. And it's my first.
There we go. And it's been my pleasure. Everyone else, well, as you said before, follow Smoooth Conversations all across social media, on YouTube. Just put in Smoooth Conversations, smooth with 3 O's. And also Beat District Radio got the app. Show love and support. Go to the website, beatdistrictradio.com, and the app store. Just put in KBDR, Beat District Radio. Scan the QR code, connect with yours truly. Also check out smoothproductions.com, smooth with, once again, 3 O's. Dr. Bolton, do me a favor, just stay on here. We'll do a post-show wrap. Everyone else, it's been Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth.
What you have just experienced was brought to you by Smoooth Productions. Until next time, stay tuned and stay smooth.